Welcome to Illuminating Catholics, podcast of the Diocese of Sioux City. I'm Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese. Together with Carmen Bauer of the Faith Formation Office, we will shed light upon topics of faith in the modern church. Our guests include Catholic clergy, religious sisters, and other experts in their fields to help us understand what's happening in the church today. We will explore issues, even the tough ones, and to find answers to common questions about Catholicism. Thank you for joining us for today's Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Welcome back to the Illuminating Catholics podcast. I'm Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese of Sioux City.
And I'm Carmen Bauer, the Director of Faith Formation.
Thank you so much for joining us today for yet another episode. As you know, the nation is preparing to celebrate our 250th anniversary, and the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion has a special exhibit and novena to commemorate our nation's history as Catholics. It is the only and first approved Marian apparition site in the U.S. So as the summer travel season is well underway, we know it's just really not too far for us in Northwest Iowa to take a road trip up there to visit. So we are most fortunate to have John Paul Brissett, Communications Director for the Shrine, on the podcast today to share more about the Shrine itself, upcoming Saints exhibit and novena. So welcome to the podcast, John Paul.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
This is great.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you join us. And before we, jump in and talk about the upcoming celebration and the exhibition up there, it'd be great just to know a little bit more about you, John Paul. So we understand that you have worked in digital media and evangelization before coming to the Shrine to handle the communications. So can you share what brought you to Our Lady of Champion?
Yeah, of course. So I started making social media videos with my brother before COVID, and we amassed about 4 million followers on social media doing just secular skits and trying to make people laugh. So at that point, I actually dropped out of college and we began to travel the country doing social media full time and got to do some amazing things and got to have some incredible experiences. But I wanted to do more, and I wanted to do more especially with my faith. And my dream was always to actually be a history teacher. So I decided that I wanted to go back to school and finish my history degree. I had already got my associate's degree, but I wanted to get my bachelor's in history. And actually, after my first day back at college, after 3 years off, I felt that I should change my major to marketing. I realized that that's what I had been doing. And so I did that. And that same day, I happened to meet Father Simon Teller, who is a Dominican priest at Providence College, where I attended. And he was the chaplain for the campus ministry. And he had asked if I knew anybody that could help the campus ministry with social media. And this was a perfect opportunity. So I began creating social media videos with the Dominican friars for Providence College. And we became one of the largest campus ministries on social media. And then we started creating content for the Dominican Order. And we reached about 500 million views on Catholic social media content with a course we developed called Faith and Marketing that we did through the school. And now it's a permanent class at Providence College that people can use marketing to market the faith. And then I started working with a bunch of different Catholic organizations, including the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. But I ended up here in Wisconsin because my wife, who I met at Providence College, she was the president of campus ministry. She was from Wisconsin. And we happened to go on our first date on the anniversary of the apparition where Our Lady of Champion appeared to Adele Bryce. And then when I came and visited her to Wisconsin, we'd visit the Shrine often. And I actually ended up proposing to her here at the Shrine at Our Lady of Champion in the oratory, where it's the exact spot that Our Lady appeared. And then who would have thought that a few months later we would be moving to Wisconsin and I would be the communications director at the Shrine. So really Our Lady's brought me on this journey here to her, and I'm glad to do the communications and help spread the message of Our Lady of Champion and servant of God Adele Bryce.
Have you always had a strong devotion to Our Lady?
To Our Lady, yes, of course. I had been to Fatima, and I had been to Rudabach, where the miraculous medal was given, and dropped on my head, my sign. I had been to all of these Marian apparition sites, but I actually had not heard of Our Lady of Champion until I started dating my wife. And she happens to be from a small town called Peshtigo, where the Peshtigo fire happened. And the Peshtigo fire is the most deadly fire in American history. In 1871, this fire burnt millions of acres and took the life of 2,000 individuals. And it actually burned up to Champion, here where Our Lady appeared. And that night, Adele Bryce and the pilgrims gathered and they processed, like marching around the walls of Jericho, processed around the shrine. And as the fire came, it burnt the outside of the fence posts here at the shrine, but not the inside. Everybody inside was left unharmed. One of the priests, who was an eyewitness, described it as an emerald eye in the sea of ash. So my wife happened to be from Peshtigo, where the fire started, and her home parish is St. Mary's in Peshtigo, which is where the priest that was the eyewitness to the account and wrote the history of the fire was pastor of. So it's just providential that she moved to Rhode Island, and I was from Rhode Island my whole life, and started telling me about the story of Our Lady of Champion and Adele Bryce, and that we happened to go on our first date on the anniversary of the apparition, coincidentally, and that Our Lady had become such an important part of our relationship and one of the patrons of our relationship. And then that we got engaged here at the shrine, and it was all just very providential.
Absolutely. I guess you are in where you are supposed to be, doing some great work for the shrine, I might say. We get some materials from y'all. So do you want to, since you've been there and you've experienced it, can you share with our listeners maybe any stories about pilgrims maybe receiving special graces at the shrine or something along those lines?
Yeah, of course. So there's been a long, long history of graces received here at the shrine. So if you ever are at the shrine or seen any pictures, there's the apparition oratory, where is the spot that we believe Our Lady appeared. It's now a small chapel where people can light candles. And for years, people would leave their crutches and their braces and leave behind these momentums of healings that happen. To the point there were so many that the shrine 20 years ago had to stop allowing people to leave their crutches because the oratory was overrun with wheelchairs and crutches and braces. And still today, there's this wall of these historic crutches that people have left, and many of them, one is a brace that we actually, just this past week, were given the story of the grandmother who left this behind. And we were able to see that story. But we're still seeing many graces received here. The priests like to say that the most common one is the sacrament of confession, and how many conversions and how many people are coming to confession here at the shrine for the first time in years. Last year, the priests here at the shrine heard 12,000 confessions, which is incredible to think that in 2010, when the apparition was approved, there was only 10,000 pilgrims that came here that year. So 12,000 people were confessions were heard just from the three priests here, not counting any guest priests or any visiting priests. But you also hear about healings. I recently met with a family. Her name was Susan Hall, that she suffered from terrible, terrible migraines. And her husband came down the oratory, and her husband was praying next to her. And she was praying for other people, not herself. And her husband was praying for her healing. And she said that she could feel that exact moment that her head switched. And she was used to be hospitalized all these time for these migraines. And in that moment, she felt like it was a switch, and she hadn't had a migraine since. We were also speaking to one man that he went in to check his heart out recently, and they said all the tests came back and said that he needed an emergency surgery. He had to go into heart surgery the next week because his the arteries were so clogged that they had to operate on him. And he came to the shrine, and he spoke to one of the priests here, and he said, "Father, this is what's happening." The priest asked to anoint him, and the priest anointed him, and he sat through adoration, and he asked for this to pass, and he went to the hospital the next day for the surgery, and they wheeled him in. They put anesthesia on him. They cut him open, and about 20 minutes later, they wheeled him back to his wife, and his wife said, "That was short. How did they do it so quickly?" And the doctor said, "I don't know why we ever operated on him. His heart is incredibly healthy." And all the tests for the entire week were saying operate, operate, operate. And when they cut him open, he was completely fine. And though there's a long investigation process for miracles and for a miracle to be declared, these are graces received and these personal stories that these people have. And that's why many come and seek prayer here, and why we have Eucharistic healing services once a month, the last Saturday of every month, where people come with their ailments and their illnesses and ask for God's healing through Our Lady.
Thank you. Those are fascinating stories.
They really are.
So you kind of make a convincing case for people to visit with all these encounters of grace. So for us within the Diocese of Sioux City, it's about a 7 to 8 hour drive up to Champion. So what can pilgrims experience at the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion?
You know, the thing that people most take away is peace. So this is an approved Marian apparition site. So like Fort Fatima, like Lourdes, like Guadalupe, but it's here only 7 hour drive away. And what's beautiful is if you've ever been to an apparition site, a lot of them have been commercialized, the surrounding areas, not the shrine. But here in Champion, you're surrounded by farmlands, and you're surrounded. You're really in the middle of nowhere. It's about 20 minutes from downtown Green Bay. But this town of Champion is very, very, very excluded from the outside world. So when you pull into these shrine grounds, the thing that people often say is peace. And that's just what they feel. A lot of people will even talk to that aren't Catholic, and they came to the shrine for whatever reason. It's in the visitor guide or something, and they're like, I don't know what I can say, but I feel this motherly embrace when I'm here, or I feel this like just warmth. And there's that feeling that people can have. Of course, on the shrine grounds, we have Mass daily. We have Mass daily at 9:30 and 11:30. Every single day, we offer the sacrament of confession and adoration. And then, like I said, the last Saturdays of every month is the healing service. We do anointing of the sick on Adele Bryce Day, which is the 9th. And then we have tons of annual events like our Walk to Mary, which this year 12,000 people walked from the National Shrine of St. Joseph to the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion on a walking pilgrimage. Our annual Assumption Feast, which is the oldest tradition here at the shrine. It's a Marian procession and Mass for the Assumption. Or October 7, 8, 9, which we like to call the Shrine Triduum, which is the anniversary of the apparition and the anniversary of that great Peshtigo fire I told everyone about earlier. And on October 8th, we have a candlelit rosary procession around the shrine grounds at night, and that leads into all-night adoration until October 9th, which is the anniversary of the apparition. So there's always these annual events that we have at the shrine on top of our day-to-day operations.
How wonderful. There's so much to do in so many ways to enter more deeply into prayer and experience the sacraments. As Don mentioned at the beginning, there's a special Catholic Saints of America celebration at the shrine that coincides with the 250th anniversary of our nation, with activities from July 1st through the 9th. Can you share some of the details and why we shouldn't miss this opportunity to visit?
Yeah, of course. Well, here at the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion, the message that Our Lady gave Adele Bryce was to gather the children of this wild country and teach them what they needed to know for salvation. And we wanted to do just that and honor the 250th birthday of our nation. It was a big year for us here at the shrine because Adele Bryce started her path to sainthood. She was declared a servant of God in January 30th, which was her 195th birthday. So through that, the shrine itself was learning so much about the path to sainthood and servant of gods and blesseds. And we wanted to teach people that holiness was possible here in America. And the way that we determined to do this was we started this Catholic Saints of America exhibit, which started off as a small goal of acquiring some relics of American saints and speaking to these people and learning their stories. It evolved to become this exhibit, where this exhibit will honor 76 American saints, blesseds, venerables, and servants of God who helped shape this nation. I like to consider it like a Hall of Fame of Holiness or a Hall of Holiness, where you get to walk through American history in timeline order and get to read about these people who are either saints, blesseds, venerables, or servants of God's and helped shape America. There's a large 20-foot map of the United States, and they have pointed to where these American saints were born. There's a huge timeline that walks you through American history and pop culture history, as well as the lives of these saints and where they all intersect. And then what's really, really exciting is while we were creating this exhibit, we began to invite the shrines and the guilds of these respective causes to come in person, share the story, speak. So over 30 causes and shrines from across the country will actually be here in person. And be able to come and speak with them and learn about their saints. And then on top of that, we'll have over 13 relics available for veneration of saints and blesseds in America that people can come. And then there will be speeches daily from these different causes. And of course, on July 5th, which is the anniversary of death of Servant of God Adele Bryce, the first since her cause has opened, we'll have a large mass here at the shrine, followed by a blessing at her grave to pray for her cause. And the Knights of Columbus will be running an all-American picnic so people can get hot dogs and hamburgers and families can come out, and there'll be a scavenger hunt. And it will just be an amazing way to celebrate America's 250 and to share with your families and kids of all ages and everyone about our faith and what our faith is meant for, and that it's possible to be a saint here in America. We often think of the European saints of 1,000 years ago, but these are saints who have experienced life and experienced the history that many of us have. I know we were just talking to one woman who was taking a look at our timeline, and she was realizing how many servants of gods and venerables and blesseds have been alive in her lifetime. And as they experienced the same things that she has, for her it was the Challenger explosion. She's looking at where that fell on the timeline and how many venerables and servants of gods did incredible things right around that same time. These aren't the people you'll read about in history books, but they're the people that had such an important and a lasting impact on our country's 250th years. So it's a beautiful event for people to come to and learn about holiness in America.
That's incredible to have 76 different
Yes.
individuals represented. And can you give us a glimpse into anyone in particular who might be an unexpected person that, with an interesting story, or who just anything you've seen?
Yeah, there's been so many incredible stories, and so many stories that have really stuck with so many different people for different reasons here at the Shrine as we were working on this project. And of course, there's the ones you'd expect, like Elizabeth Ann Seton, who was a friend of Alexander Hamilton and a friend of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, and really was involved in the birth of our nation and started the first Catholic school in our country and is responsible for the Catholic education system. There's three saints that are intertwined, and those are the saints, St. Damien of Molokai and St. Marianne Culp and St. Joseph Dutton. These three individuals, two are saints and one's a servant of God, actually went to Hawaii together to help people in a leprosy colony, or Hansen's disease. And these three people who did not know each other all intersected here in the colony in Molokai, and sacrificed their lives to help these people who you hear about in the Bible a lot, leprosy, and how people were forgotten of them. And they really were acting like Jesus and caring for these people and going and bringing Jesus to them. And how beautiful it is that these three separate individuals all intersected their holiness, and that has always stuck with me. We also have people like Venerable Fulton Sheen, who will be a blessed in September. And one cool fact about him that surprised us all was he actually had won 2 Emmys. So he's a 2-time Emmy Award winner. And in his acceptance speech, he thanked his writers Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, who are the writers of the Gospels. So there's these really cool facts like this that are intertwined in our history of America. And then you have individuals like Servant of God Michel DuPont, who only passed away recently within the last 12 years. So it's not these people of a long time ago. Of course, there's Emil Kapan, who served as a military chaplain in South Korea, and he actually in 2013 won the Medal of Honor from Barack Obama because he gave his life to help people in these military prisoner of war camps. We were reading about one who she was originally from Germany, and she was hiding Jewish people from the Nazis. And then she escaped communism and came to Canada, and then started an organization to help people in need in California, and how all of these individuals have had such a great impact on all different types of history and all different types of America. When you look at the amount of hospitals and orphanages and schools and social works that have been started by these 76 individuals, it truly blows us all away.
Well, praise God for their witnesses, and I can only imagine how inspiring that is to walk through and see all of their stories put together. And I do hope that so many of our listeners, especially families, take advantage of that opportunity. Now, could you share with us about the novena that begins on July 1st?
Yeah, of course. We understand that not everyone can make it to the shrine, but we wanted to allow people to join in the festivities. So one way that we decided to do that is our rector, Father Tony Stevens, wrote a novena for our nation. Our country is always in need of prayers, and with the 250th birthday of our nation, more than ever. So he actually wrote a beautiful novena prayer, and he trusted this prayer in the patronage of 3 titles of Our Lady. One being Our Lady of Champion, who is here at our shrine and where Our Lady appeared, the only apparition site in America, in the United States of America. The second title being Our Lady of Guadalupe, which is, of course, the patroness of the Americas. And then lastly, the Immaculate Conception, who is the patroness of the United States of America and who our country is consecrated to. So we wrote this beautiful prayer, and each 9 days is a different intention of different needs we have in America. And of course, that will be prayed here at the shrine July 1st through 9th while the exhibit's happening and while these 13 relics are available for veneration. But you can also join in on our website, www.championshrine.org/American Saints. And you can sign up there to get daily emails during the 9 days. And basically, we'll email you that prayer so you can pray it at home alone and join thousands of people across the country. We distributed over 50,000 of these novena prayer cards. And thousands of more are following along online through this email to be able to pray together and come together as our nation in this historic time.
Now, if someone is not able to make it up in July, will this exhibit be available beyond those dates?
Yeah, so our plan is after July 1st to 9th, we'd make this publicly available on our website at championshrine.org/American Saints, that people would be able to print the boards themselves and host it at their local parishes or dioceses, or if they're close enough to Champion, we'd have it available that you could pick it up at the shrine and reach out to us. And we just really want to share the stories of these individuals and share that ability for us to realize that holiness is possible here any way we can. So, of course, after the exhibit, we will be making this available, and hopefully many places will help share the stories and inspire more saints in America.
What a wonderful way to get your message out all over, and with the novena. I will mention that I know we had a group do your Walk to Mary pilgrimage.
Wonderful.
I believe that was from Ascension Parish. I probably have that wrong. No, Divine Mercy. So I probably have that wrong, but I know we did have a group recently when you mentioned that, and we did have some bus trips go your way. We wrote a story on that, I think, in 2024. So, yeah, people know about Our Lady of Champion and know about the shrine. But if you don't, I'm glad you're listening to the podcast so you can get more information. And we'll be sure to put in our show notes the web address and so forth, so people can access that. So I'm so impressed with what you all have going on, and your July 1st through 9th event just sounds wonderful. If people can make themselves available to go up there.
Thank you. Yeah, we just really just want to share the stories with everybody, and never have we had an event where the more that we publicize this event, the more we hear from people about how passionate they are about one or more, or have these individual devotions to these different individuals. And it's been beautiful to see and beautiful to work with these shrines and these causes to tell the stories.
Great networking. And of course, the story of servant of God, Adele Bryce. I want to make sure I pronounce that right. So yes, make a road trip, grab the family, and head up to Wisconsin. It's not that far. It'll be cooler than it is here, I'm pretty sure. A little warm today. So as the United States will be celebrating our 250-year history, the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion in Wisconsin will help us celebrate U.S. saints, blesseds, venerables, and servants of God. They've got exciting displays and people there to talk about the different shrines, exhibits, and events, all just in our neighboring Wisconsin. So we are most grateful to John Paul Brissett of the Shrine for joining us today and sharing more about the opportunity we have just a few hours away in Wisconsin. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here, and thank you for having us on and sharing the story of Our Lady.
Oh, it's been our pleasure. Our pleasure. And thanks to all of you for listening to today's Illuminating Catholics as we shine a light on the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion and the 250th Catholic Saints Exhibit and Novena. So new episodes drop each Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts, the Diocese of Sioux City YouTube channel, or at lumenmedia.org. Thank you for listening to this episode of Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Follow us for more episodes on topics of the Catholic faith. For more diocesan news, visit lumenmedia.org.